welcome to another episode of Connections. Today we'll be speaking with the wonderful Jonathan Antoine.
So, hello, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. I love your suit. You're very dapper.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're looking wonderful this evening, this afternoon yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'm sure everyone who's tuning in will have, of course, heard your story, would have seen you on Britain's Got Talent. But we're here, we'll discuss a little bit about your early career, but we're also here to talk about your brand new single, which is really exciting. So can you tell us a little bit about that song?
Absolutely, I can. This is, it's You See, or Scene, originally the English written by Diane Warren, who, just one of the greatest, most prolific songwriters of the last kind of 20 years. I was scrolling her Wikipedia page the other day, just the credits section, and it's, you're just scrolling, it's incredible.
Amazing.
You see all these artists that you love. And she quite literally DM'd me on Instagram and said, I have this song that's in conjunction with this movie, and I would really like you to do a version of it. And I mean, it's not a thing that happens every day. I don't think that you get that kind of message. And so yeah, I leapt at the chance, and it's I'm really pleased with it.
So yeah, that's quite a DM to get. So let's go back. You guys had collaborated a little bit before though, right?
Yes. So for my last two albums, on 2020's Going the Distance, it's kind of a pseudo concept album in a way, where it kind of follows this story, and we were looking for like a last piece that would kind of make the whole thing cohesive and give a specific flow to the narrative. And the wonderful producer for that album and my last album and this track, Mr. Greg Field, he who has worked with everyone and is just an absolute legend. He just said, I'll call up my good friend Diane Warren, as you know, as one does, and she really pulled through and gave us the song Compass, which it worked perfectly for that story that we were trying to tell. And then I also recorded another album last year, a Christmas album, Christmas Land, and she gave us These Are the Special Times, which we then had translated into Italian as well. So we're building a great relationship, and hopefully there will be more to come from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this particular song was recorded before, right? It won a Golden Globe Award, and now it's nominated for an Oscar. So she was asking you kind of like celebrate the song in this grand way.
Yeah, and I watched the Oscars that night, and yeah, it was to see Laura's performance of it was super cool. It was it was very tough competition that night. So and Diane, it's just very funny for me now seeing, like, because I'm looking out in the crowd for Diane and I can just see her, and it is a wonderful thing.
So obviously with this one, you mentioned that someone had recorded it. But how do you normally approach like a new song? Do you like to listen to it first, or do you like to go to the piano with no preconceptions of anyone singing it?
It really depends.
Okay.
I think usually I like to have a specific recording that I'm kind of following,
Mhm.
and a lot of the times I feel that gives me specific things to avoid as well,
Yeah.
because you don't want to ape the entire track, but some things you're like, oh, I should definitely do that, and some things you consciously avoid to make yourself sound different. But yeah, I really like to have, if it's a song that's been recorded a lot, I like to have that's perfect for me. I like to listen to a bunch of different
Yeah.
interpretations and see just how other people are approaching it, and then determine what I'm going to steal from them.
It's true that we're all inspired by these versions, and it is great when there's multiple because then you can kind of see which take and
Yeah.
what new things to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the very first person to have sung a song is using some interpretation of the person who wrote the song, or
Right.
some experience in their life or something. All things in a way are derivative, right?
And so did Diane kind of coach you in any way through the piece?
She quite literally said she just wanted my voice on it and gave
Perfect.
me the reins. She gave Greg and I the reins basically, and when I'm in the studio, he gives kind of general pointers and approaches, but at the end of the day, a lot of it gets left up to me to put in the concrete stuff, and that's super cool, I think, because going through my career, it's been almost 10 years now, and it's nice to be trusted.
Yeah, right.
When you're just coming in and no one really knows what you know, and you don't know what's going on really. It's it's you build this trust throughout a career, and it's really rewarding to be at that kind of point.
And I think also one of the things that has really drawn listeners to you has been your emotional perspective, because people really connected with you from the first time they write on stage.
I think so. I hope so. It's always been my primary goal to never like. I've had people call me famous, and I don't vibe with the word.
Okay.
I've always driven the point home that I am the same flesh and blood as anyone else. Like, we're all the same type of chemical, like at a very base level. So I don't think there's any point in reviling people or putting people up on a pedestal for any real reason. And I think that in a way that draws people in. It's that understanding that we are the same. There are barriers between us. There is the barrier of the physical body and the mind, but those things are chemicals in a way. We can overcome those boundaries, I think.
I think that's a really nice way of putting it. And you have quite a funny side. So I was watching today the bloopers from your video. So tell us a little bit about that. Seems like you've been experimenting with kind of vlogs and different things like that.
I think it's always nice if I can provide a little bit of perspective. It goes back to the being human thing, right?
Yeah.
It's honestly a lot of my life is kind of being in this room and not doing an awful lot, right? So to be able to share these moments that people have really facilitated, like I wouldn't be able to do any of this without the people who are watching and who are listening, and so to be able to kind of give them a window in, and hopefully they enjoy it. It's just like the bloopers and the vlog stuff. It's just something that I make in my free time because I think that it's fun, and I think hopefully people enjoy it.
So you started obviously voice lessons at a young age. How young were you when you started?
I think when I just went into high school, so 2007, however old
Okay.
I would have been back then. But I'd always kind of been interested in singing, and I'd done like the group choir stuff at primary school. So I began properly being taught by a lovely lady named Jenny Ewington, who she saw me through my voice breaking as well at that point, and that's a really rough period for male singers. And then it's always very funny to me, kind of at a point you draw to a close with a certain teacher, and there is a very Star Wars Jedi-like thing about it. And in one case, a teacher that I was going to see, he quite literally passed me on to his master, and it really did feel like it felt really cool. And I saw her for a long time. I've been through quite the chain of people now. It's great to have different perspectives again.
No, I love that you mentioned that, because I mean, you do hear some people are with their voice teacher their whole life, which I'm sure is interesting because they understand, your voice like no one else. But at the same time, I like what you're saying, where they kind of pass you on and say, and this is about where I can take you, and now you're ready for the next set of ears.
I think that is quite literally the phrase about where I can take you is. Man, it brings me back. It really brings me back. And I've had people recommended to, there are all these different ways of meeting people, and that's always my like prime advice, I guess, to people is getting perspectives, not just because it helps you kind of enrich your personal voice, but because it helps you build connections. The more people you know, the more stuff you can do. That's just life.
Yeah. So you also studied, was it the Royal Academy of Music, like the junior division?
Yeah. So I applied for there are 4 conservatoires in London. I applied for their junior divisions, and ended up picking the Royal Academy. Um, just it seemed the nicest one, I suppose. Not to diss any of the others; they were all absolutely wonderful. One of them was the train was out. I wouldn't be able to get back there. That kind of thing. So it was absolutely wonderful for me going to the Junior Royal Academy, because it was like a journey in independence at that age. I can't quite remember what year I started, but I would take the tube from the very beginning of the Central Line where I lived, all the way deep into London, and you'd get out and you'd walk past Madame Two Swords, which was always fun. And you'd always see people lined up practically around the block for it. And then just down the road, you go into the academy, and it's a very easy going kind of thing, and that was really what I needed personally. I'm not so good with rigid structure. I'm really I enjoy coming and going as I please.
Yeah. Well, that's really good though, because I do think, I mean, I went to school with a lot of people and it's like they might not have fit that exact mold. So it's good that you have programs that are really going to go for the individual. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we all work slightly differently. While we are all the same flesh, the way that the electrical impulses travel through that flesh are sometimes a little bit different. And
Yeah.
I think that it's nice. It's really as we kind of move towards the future, and we do have more options for alternative education. It'll allow us to grow further as a species, I think.
And what kind of things were you working on at that age? Did you get to do any opera scenes, or was it mainly just the repertoire, learning languages?
I remember there was at one point we did do a scene from the Mikado, which was really fun. We got to dress up, but for the most part it was it was kind of, how do I put it? It was almost like a Harry Potter boarding school kind of thing, but for music. Seriously, when I think back on it, it was pretty magical, because you'd go in and you could just go kind of anywhere really, and there would always be people playing music. All these practice rooms. Sometimes you'd go there with a teacher, and you'd be talking about theory. Sometimes you'd be doing like Alexander technique, and sometimes you'd be up in the 4th floor building. With Sarah actually singing. There's a huge hall where you'd practice with the choir, which a lot of people did skip out on. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Now, when it comes, obviously, Italian is a big language for classical singers, and your new single is in Italian. So how do you learn it? Do you know the language? You speak it? Is it IPA or?
It's not IPA, but certainly all phonetics.
Okay.
I've just about started to get the grip of English, so when when we've got a better grip on that, maybe we'll start learning some Italian. um, yeah, it's all phonetic and translation work basically. I have, over the 10 plus years, have built a lexicon, a certain dictionary of how things, the double C's and the CH's are kind of swapped, that kind of thing. And so when you read it in Italian mode. It's weirdly, there are ways in which it's kind of easier, because there are a lot of the time when you see something written, it will actually sound that way. Whereas in English, a lot of the time when you see something written, it is completely alternative.
Yeah. So is Italian one of your favorites?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Absolutely. No, no, no. Italian is definitely one of my favorites. It's and I have a theory about it, and it's all to do with vowel phonemes.
Mm.
How many ways there are to say a vowel, and there are, I think, 7 in Italian. So it's very pure in a way. There are very specific ways that you will enunciate each sound.
Yeah. Yeah, just a delight to sing in that. So now tell us, I think you were also in something, was it Rain Dance? It was like a production that you were part of.
Yeah, yes, I was. Oh man, that must have been 2010 or 11. So pre TV. This was with W11 Opera. Really, really cool stuff in Holland Park in London. Again, another exercise in independence for me. Very similar. Well, not really, but the train journey, right? After school, this was actually after school. I would get on the train once again on the Central Line, and it was thankfully just one long train ride. And occasionally, I would fall asleep and miss it. But yeah, I'd go to this beautiful church in this upmarket town, and we'd practice for this production, and it was a youth opera, just something that I've not really done something like that since, and perhaps I will do again.
So yeah, I was going to ask, do you ever feel like there's a role that you would like to do?
Ooh, uh, oh goodness. Hmm.
Hard
Hmm.
question.
Hard question. Hard question. Um, for now, I I honestly don't feel that I have the dedication and the sort of particular drive. There is a very particular drive that one must have to be a part in a big production like that. And at the moment, the particular path and drive that I feel, it doesn't quite push me in that direction, but it is something I could see myself doing. If that makes sense. Yeah.
And so each classical crossover artist, I feel like, has kind of their own mix, right? So what would you describe yours? Obviously, when you were with Charlotte doing your duet, it was a little bit different than now as a solo artist. So what would you say kind of your sound is?
Oh, good question.
All the hard
Good
ones.
question. Yeah. Um, I'd like to think that it's the sound. I'd like to think that my sound is emblematic of myself,
Mhm.
of my personhood, in that I'm still not really sure who I am.
Yeah.
I don't quite know who I am yet. I don't know where I'll be in 10 years, and I hope that in a way, not in a nervous way, but in a hopeful, in an optimistic way. I hope that that comes through in my music. I like. I think to kind of try and put it down to a specific like genre blend is tough for me right now because I'm experimenting with a few things in a
Okay.
big way. So um, so we will see. We'll see what kind of singer I am. I think.
Still to go, which is good though, because I think sometimes we can categorize our size a bit early, and there's so much to explore.
Yeah, I'm 26 now. 20, yeah, I think so. Hard to tell some days. So hopefully there's a long way still to go. I'm trying to get myself to a place where there will be a long and healthy career out there for me.
Absolutely. I believe it. You have the most dedicated fans. I mean, I think almost every day I get a tweet from somebody about you. They love you so much.
I love them. I love them. It's man, I. I, I I will be very brutally honest. I have to be quite clinical a lot of the time when I speak about the fans because I get very very emotional. There are people who have very recently left us. There are and I have an older fan base and people do leave us. They do pass on, and but that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt every single time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and of course, new and wonderful people join us all the time, and that is lovely. Um, but it is it's actually it's tough to form these powerful bonds with people, and then to to know that in the cosmic sense, of course, that all things must end.
Yeah.
That sucks, to put it lightly. So my goal, my eternal goal, is just to make people smile while they're still here. I think.
And so a lot of these people that you've mentioned, they've been with you since you were on Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Do you think about it now as you go back? Like, can you watch reality TV, or is it kind of strange to see other people now?
Oh man, it is really really strange. My mum and sister, they watch a fair bit of reality TV of different kinds, and it's
Yeah.
like I feel like I can tell when they cut between one shot and another shot, and it's like, oh, that was definitely done like 2 weeks later. Like,
Yeah.
something's going on here, and like, oh, the audio stuff on TV shows, like, you can just tell when like every word of a sentence has been cut out and it's all glued together. It's like, okay. Well, yeah, those things that you notice once you've kind of been in the production is very funny to me. It's very funny. I,
That,
I, I, I like thinking about it, but when you start pointing it out, people get very annoyed. So so I just keep my mouth shut.
no, I'm like a reality TV show junkie. So you'll see a promo and you'll be like, oh, I can't believe this person said that. And then you see the whole clip, but it's not that at all, right? So
It's great. The wonders you can do with, well, just a little bit of cut and paste, really.
yeah. But now you have an interest in like photography, don't you?
Yeah, particularly I used to. I used to be much more into it. I don't know what happened exactly. I have kind of this tendency, I feel, to get very attached to something. Like a particular hobby, a particular thing. At one point, it was Pokemon cards. Much more recently than I'd care to admit. Uh, and then I kind of pursue that for a while. I get to a certain point, and I feel a certain satisfaction with it, and I go on to the next thing. Yeah, I have got my old DSLR next to me that I got perhaps in 2013, 14, and yeah, it's been through a lot with me. And now, like throughout the lockdown, I've been able to repurpose that and use it as for filming stuff like this, stuff like at home performance videos. So it's an old passion has found new light, which is really, really nice. A nice thing to happen amongst the madness.
Yes. And did you kind of pick up any new skills during the quarantine? Because there's not too much to do, right?
Skills, I don't know. Hobbies, kind of.
Okay.
I've been into mechanical keyboards, not the musical kind, the typing kind.
Okay.
It's I mean I have two on my desk right now. I mean you can't type on two keyboards at once, and here we are. It's it's a weird hobby. But
What is
I
that
really enjoy it.
exactly? Is it that you can customize the keyboard
Yeah,
to be
you can customize basically everything about a keyboard.
okay?
It's man, I could go on a serious tangent here. So I'm just gonna show this very nice. Ooh.
Ooh, fancy.
And yeah, it's there's all the parts of it can be swapped around. People pay like thousands of dollars for keyboards and stuff. It is a wild world out there, and there is like the fun part of like the mechanical part, soldering pieces in and doing all that stuff. That is very relaxing. I find myself kind of doing little things like I was interested in Gundam models, so building robots basically, and Lego for a while. So I find that doing little fiddly things with my hands is something that I get into for some reason. And I like to listen to like a podcast or a very long form video while I do that.
So while you're doing these kinds of things, do you think that like because you kind of like the mechanical, is there types of music that you're drawn to that are quite complicated like that as well?
Yeah, I'm very into sort of tech. How do you technical death metal, I guess, is how
Okay,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, so or well, just technical stuff, progressive, like weird time signatures, stuff like that. Like Meshuggah is an obvious choice there. I don't know. There are a few. Well, Tesseract, who are a band from around here, and Monuments, who are UK fellas. Periphery, who won a Grammy a couple of years ago. Really, really great stuff. Yeah, but very technical, very arpeggiated, often very, very quick, note-based, heavy rhythms. Super cool stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot more crossover between metal. I remember when I was in school, my voice teacher, her son was very into metal and kind of Mozart and try to combine different bass lines, and there's a lot that can be done there.
Yeah, there is an awful lot, and a lot of the super technical, kind of, I guess people like Archspire is one, a Canadian band, really great. There are like fugue elements and yeah, all
Yeah.
these counterpoints and stuff, and there are elements of the hard nitty gritty bits of classical composition in there. Super cool, and Archspire are wild band.
Now, do you have a favorite classical composer that you think just really suits your voice well?
Oh, um, I mean, I think Puccini is
Mm.
pretty solid choice. Uh, that's yeah,
To the heart with his music, right?
yeah. Every time. Yeah,
How about like modern musicals? Because you've done stuff like Empty Chairs at Empty Tables before.
yeah. It's I mean, Les Mis is basically every song from that is an absolute slammer, as
Yeah.
they say. It's but Bring Him Home and Empty Chairs have
Mm.
been like kind of my constant companions almost for the past. Well, Bring Him Home for over 10 years. I remember I sang that one in 2008 or 9. Goodness me, been a while. That's yeah, it will always hold a very special. It's one of the first songs that my mum was like, "Oh, you must sing this one," after my voice had broken as well. Um, so that's emblematic of a big change in my life.
I think those songs are so special that you can just keep throughout your whole career.
Yeah,
And I'm sure Nessun Dorm was another one for you.
yeah. I only just sang that one actually, which is wild. I put it on Going the Distance in 2020, and to be able to to kind of throw my hat in the ring, it's daunting, terrifying. And, people did seem to like it though. That that made me very very happy because I I can only do what I can do. I and in my heart and in my mind, I can't really compete with a lot of the Björling or Pavarotti. Uh, they're in their league. I'm doing my own thing over here. And yeah, so just to be able to be in the same realm or universe as them, and to have people say, "Hey, good job," is life affirming. It's awesome.
I mean, I'm sure people would disagree that you're not in that realm, but
I would
I
thank
think you're a
them.
lot closer than you think. But last year was a very busy year, wasn't it? Because you had two albums out last year.
It was. It was. Well, yeah. In terms of release schedule, despite the pandemic, it was my busiest year. Um, yeah, it seemed appropriate. Really, it was a really terrible year for everyone.
Mm.
Uh, but like, not holding back there. It's and it just so happened that there were ways that we could do it that were safe. Uh, we were very, very fortunate, and it was super awesome to get to go to Abbey Road because, well, they are in the business of continuing to do their business, and so they got into action so quickly. Everything was masked up, things were changed around in the building, scrubbing down everything routinely, certain limits on how many people could be in a certain room. The orchestra couldn't be obviously they had to be at least 6 feet apart, which is like super weird for them.
Yeah.
Right? Being in an orchestra, you've got to hear the other players, and usually you're like shoulder to shoulder, basically, enough room to bow. And yeah, so for that it was super weird, but and I was in a separate booth entirely because like my whole thing is blowing air all over the place.
Yeah.
I had to be relegated to my own booth, but we got it done, and that was like triumphant, super cool to me. Because yeah, like I say, it's a pretty rubbish year for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and if I can give them like just 1 second of a smile creeping across their face, then that is an absolute victory for me.
So would you say you're drawn to certain meanings in your songs? So going back to your new single, it's called Scene, right? So is it, it seems appropriate for right now where people feel so isolated.
Yeah, it's. I think that Scene and EOC are about a lot of things. As I kind of as I watch the film and as you dive into the lyrics, even the differences between the two translations or the two versions, it's pretty wonderful. To me, it's about being willing to accept people and being willing to accept help and love. And I think that when you're in a really rough place, it is almost impossible to do those things.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does just take a jolt of some kind, a bolt out of the blue, for the world to change.
And do you support certain causes that are really meaningful to you?
I try to. It's in general I try and use the words that I have and the limited time of people's attention that I can muster to say things that I hope will help people. And there are a lot of people that I want to help. It's a tough thing because I feel as though I am spread fairly thin sometimes.
Yep.
Although there is a lot of me. So I'm very much an advocate for the homeless. I try and give back to that a lot. I am very much an advocate for anti-bullying, of course.
Yeah.
I have lived through that, and that has been that has been an effect on myself. My existence. I wouldn't be the same person that I am if I had not survived kind of the rigors of the world in a way. So I'm passionate generally about helping. I try to be.
Do you think, back to reality TV, do you think it's kind of time they retire this idea where, someone walks on, Susan Boyle, Paul Potts, and we're just going off of appearance? It's just so wrong at this point that we're still judging people on what they look like. And then it's like, oh, they can sing. Well, of course they, like, what? That's not,
I think that certainly that there is an element of wrongness to it, but I think that we, as people, we are drawn to that. Even I am guilty. When I see someone, my brain, my instincts make a snap judgment, and I think that it is actually the willingness to be proven wrong that is the most important for us to learn. It's fine to have your instincts make a snap judgment about someone. I think I could be wrong, but I think that what is not fine is if you are then impossible to convince that you might be wrong. Yeah, it's vital that, and I think actually that those kind of clips and stuff, while in one sense they do certainly reinforce the stereotype, the idea, in the first place, there is also the duality that they are reinforcing that surprise moment, that the idea that people can do something despite their external self.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Hard,
I don't know. I like that. The
yeah,
willingness to be
hard
proved wrong. Good. It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure. So tell us, okay, with Going the Distance, you did a PBS special here in the US, which went really well. What was that like?
It was super cool. It was super super cool. I to be able to record it in the first place, like the recording itself was in 2019, so before we knew that any of the last year would happen.
Yeah.
Going into it with this blind optimism, it was awesome to have that period of my life captured. Is really really wild, and to like the production, the actual stage show that was put on for that was crazy. It was so, like yeah yeah. I could go into extreme detail, but I think that's one for the like VH1 behind the music in 20 or so years. But then going around and promoting it was like even cooler. Being able to travel the States is just so, it's like it's part of the American dream for one, and it's just something I've always wanted to do, to be able to just kind of uproot and go and be everywhere and meet all of these people and gain all of these new perspectives.
Yeah.
That is invaluable to me.
So what are some of the other things as we look forward to hopefully, things opening up? What are some of the new mediums, the new countries you'd like to go to?
Oh, I've like my dreams have expanded to a point that they are uncontainable at this point. I feel like it started with I want to go back to the places that I was doing the PBS tour, because at the time I was touring around PBS stations as COVID broke out, basically. So I want to go back and do my actual tour dates there. That's one thing that actually will happen, I promise. But now it's become I want to travel to every state, and then it became I want to travel to every country, and now I want to. There are so many things now that have been brewing in my head. One idea that I've been giving out for free is a huge album with a song in every language of the world. I think that'd be super cool. Really really hard to do.
Yeah.
but it could be super cool. So just crazy stuff like that, crazy wild ideas, new things that I don't think people expect from me, but I think, and this goes for me as well, often I don't know what I want or what I expected until it's right there in front of me. So we'll see.
Well, I know we'll keep watching you. We're so happy to support you whenever you have new albums, new content, and I know everyone is excited too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I said it at the beginning and I will say it again. I do appreciate your time very much.
Oh, thank you. So lovely to speak to you. Everyone, please go download the single. After the chat, of course, we'll have all your links up on screen. So thank you so much, Jonathan. Bye.
Have a wonderful night. Bye.
You too. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. We are excited because we have another Sound of Crossover concert coming up July 25th, and the theme this time will be movies and musicals. So there'll be a lot of great music. I absolutely adore musicals. So if you haven't already, go ahead, hit subscribe. As we've mentioned before, we're actually starting to sell physical copies of our magazine. So if you haven't already, check it out on our website. If you do become one of our associate producers on Patreon, not only will you get credited like the lovely Tuomo, we so appreciate his support, and he was our first Patreon, but you will also get the physical copies as part of your rewards. So please check that out as well. And we look forward to seeing you next week for a brand new interview.